All right, you listened. You got MFA or multi-factor authentication set up on all your major accounts. You feel good about it. You're like, I'm safe. Nobody's gonna hack me. What if I told you that there's 2 techniques that somebody can use to bypass your MFA and get access to all your accounts, including your banking information? Well, let's talk about it. Hi, I'm Chris Burns from Techie Gurus, and welcome back. So, MFA or multi-factor authentication is so critically important. You should have it on everything. But it's only part of a defensive in-depth strategy to help protect your business, your personal life, your data. So let's kind of go over what happens when you authenticate with multi-factor authentication, and then I'll go over 2 techniques that are used to bypass it. So let's start with what is multi-factor authentication? Okay, that's where you're going to have a token, a code. It could go to your cell phone. We like app-based ones better, so where you have like either push authentication or it'll have you enter a code. Great, you have that set up. Awesome. Now let's go over what happens. So when you go to like Office 365 or Microsoft 365 or Google or whatever, and you log in, you're going to put your username and password in, and it's going to then prompt you for the code. Or it'll push it to your phone or whatever, and you hit it, or it'll send an SMS text message to your phone, and you put that code in. Okay, great. What happens there is an authentication cookie is then stored on your computer. Now, for banking sites, that time that it's allowed to be used is very short. So that cookie is going to expire very quickly. However, social media and other websites, they set really long authentication times. So if you have access to that cookie, you can just bypass MFA by taking that cookie and stealing it and injecting it into your browser session. So that's why when you maybe log into Microsoft 365, it doesn't prompt you all the time. It only prompts you every once in a while because it stores that authentication token in the form of a cookie, and it just lets you not have to put in your MFA. So let's go over 2 techniques now where an attacker can bypass that MFA. So first off is going to be real-time phishing. So what they're going to do is they're going to set up a website, looks exactly like your banking site. This is really used for banking because the shelf life for an authentication cookie with a bank is really short. So they need it in real time. So the idea is they're going to get you to enter their credentials on the website, and as soon as they see that, they're going to push a button, and it's going to prompt you to enter the MFA code. Now, once you enter that, it then creates a connection on their end, and it logs into your banking site, and they can get access to your banking. The reason this has to be real time, again, is because the authentication cookie is so short for banking. Now, let's go over a different technique, and this is probably the more popular one now. It's called man-in-the-middle phishing. You'll sometimes see it as MITM phishing. So let's talk about how the man-in-the-middle phishing attack works. So you get sent a phishing website, right? It looks legitimate, it looks like Microsoft 365. You enter credentials. Well, in reality, that's not Microsoft 365. What it is, it's a site that looks like that. So now the attacker has a reverse proxy. So what does that mean? That means they're setting up a connection between you and them, and then them and Microsoft 365. So when you enter credentials on their website, they just submit them on the other end to Microsoft. And then that will trigger your multi-factor authentication code, right? 2FA. And once you enter that, Microsoft sends that directly to you. You enter that, and it goes through the proxy, and they forward it on. Well, guess what? That returns a session cookie to the attacker, who then returns it to you. So it looks like you're logged in and everything's working. Well, the reality is they just stole it. They just stole your session cookie. Now, there are other ways that if there's one other technique that if somebody gets access to your computer, they can just steal your session cookie from any browser. And if they steal it, they can inject it into their browser. So those are 3 techniques. The first 2 are the more popular. The third one takes a lot more work. Because if somebody just trick you to go to a website and put your credentials in, it's a lot easier to do this. Plus, it's pretty much automated at that point. To give you an idea of how popular this has become, like 3 years ago, there's only maybe 200 phishing sites that were run on the internet that actually did this. And now there's over 1,200, at least that we know of, right? So what do you do to protect yourself against this? Well, one, if you get a link Obviously we have to understand how to see what a phishing email looks like. This is your users, this is everything like that. But we can't assume that every user is always going to make a good decision. So sometimes they are going to go to a phishing site, they are going to submit their credentials. So we have to be monitoring for these logins. So wherever that, like if we do the man-in-the-middle phishing, wherever that is, it's going to be logging in from a different area. We need to have that, and we need to take that telemetry, that cybersecurity telemetry, and put it through a SOC or some sort of automation that kind of looks at it from a behavioral analysis and says, wait, this person just logged in from Michigan or Texas or California, but why is there a simultaneous login in from another country or even someplace else in the United States? So once we know that, we can say, okay, hold up. Maybe this account has been compromised. And now we can take action against it. So we could force logoffs, force everybody to log off, and then reset the password, and then contact the user and say, hey, did you click on an email? Did you do something? The idea is we need to be able to see the logs and basically correlate that with the data. And then we can make a decision. And we can always err on the side of caution. So that's what we would do in that situation. I hope this is helpful to you. If you have any kind of questions, drop a comment down below. Hope you had a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays again. New Year's coming up. Again, hackers like cookies too. So until next time, I'm Chris Burns from Techie Gurus. Appreciate you and stay cyber safe.